Well, they left Geroh at the pitch, and Geroh's been found, and the goalkeeper's come off his line, and Geroh goes for elevation and achieves perfection.
Gundogan, he sat down Sanchez and he scored again. The goalkeeper's delivery itself is a source of great City joy. His assist.
Edison looking to release that ball into Erling Haaland. He's got it too. Erling Haaland scores for Manchester City. What a ball from Edison.
This is the space that City have been waiting for.
Oh, and Haaland just bumps his way past Pinnock. Through on goal!
Haaland. Oh, Sanchez started to come. Now he's in a strange position. Haaland spots that and makes him pay.
Edison taking a direct route here, and Marmoush is in!
Well, needed the right touch there from McAtee. Surely this time!
Hello, a very fantastic day to you viewers, wherever you're catching us live. Thank you so much for being part of the biggest TV in Western. Of course, my name is Senior Zero. This is Sararights TV, and it's the program, the Sports Desk Show, right here, whereby you give you exclusive analysis in the world of sports. Remember, it has been a while that me and you have been together for this show. Of course, finally, we are back, and we keep the road rolling here to see that we give you the best in terms of sports. My name is Senior, like I said, the host of the show. Remember, a lot of sports stories to be talked about. Remember, football in Uganda is finally back. We shall be looking into that. And the biggest one is the transfers in Uganda coming to a start down. And of course, we shall be looking into this. Basically, I'll be talking about the Southern Uganda Premier League, not forgetting the Football Big League. And our teams here in Western that will be playing their trade in the Football Big League. I'll be looking into that, into nitty-gritty. Of course, Calvary will be playing in what we call the Times Uganda Premier League. Of course, on top of the Black Lions and the Football Club will be representing us in what we call the Big League. I'll be looking into that, into nitty-gritty. Of course, Mohamed Saban is as well training with KCC after failing actual terms with the team in the name of Geroh down in Kenya. And we shall be looking into that, into nitty-gritty. Of course, the biggest one is always here. Remember, it's Arua City that is hosting the National Tourism Day. Of course, it will be here, and I can tell you a number of people are already gathering here within the city, and they are really preparing the city so much to see that everything moves on so smoothly. In the international, I'll be talking about Liverpool's actually Hugo Ekitike, who kind of got actually a very stupid red card yesterday in their FA Cup game against Southampton. I'll be looking at that. What does that one mean for Hugo Ekitike, and what has the manager I'm talking about Anthony said about that? And into the greetings, I'll be breaking down the Ugandan football stories. Of course, here we are always here to give you the best in terms of sports. Remember, this show is only sponsored by Sabrima Global Sports Limited, the biggest and the sole sponsors of the show. Of course, let's begin here and we talk about the big league football. I don't want to talk about the transfers anymore. Of course, the transfer has come to its closer already. Of course, we have seen a number of teams making headlines in the transfer market. One of the biggest clubs right now is on the Football Club. They are now trying to unveil some of their new players. Of course, these players came through in what we call trial basis. Of course, the Football Club have got a number of players being signed by the club already into the system. Of course, yesterday they unveiled a player in the name of Pro Simon. This is a player that the Football Club has already unveiled through. They also unveiled a player in the name of Bare, a player who comes from a team in the name of Kulubarempo, playing in what we call the Western Regional League. The Football Club was kind of trying to go for players who are kind of average and players who are kind of play their trade in the lower division of Ugandan football. So I'm talking about Western. Of course, their priority is to see that they give the opportunity for our homegrown players to see that they also establish themselves to be one of the most recognized players in the country. This is what actually we need from a club like Liverpool, giving the platform for the homegrown players to see that they have got that actually excellent performance, to see that they uplift on the program to some extent. Of course, they also signed a defender in the names of Tiingi. Of course, this is one of the new signings that Ontopraka has gone in for. They also signed a player in the names of Alibo David in there. Of course, they signed a player in the names of Lemerica Tom. These are some of the new faces that Ontopraka Football Club has signed in. They also signed a player in the names of Osaka Chon Innocent. Of course, these are some of the new players that Ontopraka has signed in. Then they signed a defender in the names of John is as well there. Then they also signed a player in the names of Atayo Filiam is as well into the mix of the Football. And then there's a player in the names of Mushiti Joseph is another player that on the Football Club has also signed. Of course, they also signed a midfielder. Of course, the player has been playing in the 4th Division League. I'm talking about Ruanga. He has been playing for Green Forest. This is a player that on the Football Club has signed already. This is something that I thought I needed to let you know about the new signings of on the Football Club. And of course, I will be looking into that into these things. Can Western teams in the big league make us proud? See that they go back to the start times going to Premier League. Can Ondubraka make us proud? Can Calvary Football Club make us proud to remain put in the start times going to Premier League? Can the Vicente Football Club make amends and in the maiden season remain in what we call the big league football? Can by the Black Angels once again rejuvenate themselves, probably make amends and go back to the Southern Ghana Premier League is the $1 million question that I'll be breaking down for you. Of course, I have got my actual expectation about these teams. Which one will be crossed over back to the Southern Ghana Premier League? I've got that in my actual lips in there. Of course, I'll be breaking down that one into nitty-gritty. Of course, before I talk about the Southern Ghana Premier League, that is returning officially on Friday, it has been reported that matches that were initially supposed to be televised live on TV in the evening are being shifted again in the evening, but at a later time. Of course, in Uganda, the last games were always broadcast at around 7 p.m., but there has been a shift of that. The games have been pushed to 8 p.m. For what reasons and what are the benefits, what are the challenges? I'll be looking into that in the nitty-gritties, of course. Let's first pick it here and we talk about the biggest of our own teams here in Western. I'm talking about football big level. Of course, when you talk about football big league, of course, football big league will return officially on Sunday, this Sunday. Of course, Uganda Premier League returns on Friday, which is this very Friday. And then on Sunday again, we'll be seeing football also returning back in the big league setup. Of course, when you look at the teams that will be playing in the big league setup, of course, we have seen the Black Angels that will be playing on Sunday against Navy Sunday Football Club. This is a very big game, and it will be at Barakoro, actually playgrounds down in Zombo. This game will be at 4 p.m. Of course, all the big league games are at 4 p.m. Of course, we have got a number of teams around 8 different venues will be hosting these games. Of course, the biggest one will be the Western Derby between the Black Angels and the Navy Sunday Football Club at Barakoro Stadium, like I said, on Sunday. Then we shall be seeing on the Black Football Club all the way from here. They will be traveling to Lira to play against a team in the names of Blast Power, a team that has been so notorious for the Black Football Club when it comes to playing down in Lira. We are yet to go and see whether the Black Football Club can be important to make amends against a team in the names of Blast Power in that regard. Of course, this is going to be one of the biggest. This game will be at Ebenezer University Playgrounds down in Lira, 4 p.m. East African. Those who are watching us live from Lira, I would like to say thank you so much for always being part of us. And this is going to be a big game as well for the people of Lira in Dendena. We will be seeing Tuka Sazi will be playing against Tinda Boys. This game will be at Mitena South grounds. That will be at 4 p.m. East African time. Then we shall be having Katida that will play against Tigezi, or you can call it Tigezi Homeboys. This game will be at Boglobi Coffee Grounds at 4 p.m. East African time. Then we shall be having Igaga Young United that will be playing against Mbale Heroes. This game will as well be an interesting game to watch. This game will be at 4 p.m. East African. Then we shall be seeing Wakito Giants, one of the newly relegated teams from the Southern Ghana Premier that will be hosting our own from Northern Uganda. I'm talking about Young Elephants Academy. This game will be at Wakista Recreation Ground, 4 p.m. East African down in Wakito District. And then we shall be seeing Karo Karunji playing against Bunyerunguru United. This game will be at Chiamata Playgrounds down in Pugamo. Big game. And Solotiro Bright Stars will be traveling to Mbale to play against Kataka Football Club, one of the beautiful games to watch. Of course, these are one of our teams in Uganda that have seen it all. Of course, Kataka is not just an ordinary team. This is a team that has been there in in Ugandan football for a quite long period of time. Of course, they'll be playing against Solitiro Bright Stars. Which teams will be making headlines here in what we call the Big League come 2025-2026 season? Of course, I was looking at a number of these teams, but my emphasis will definitely be on our own Western teams. Of course, I'm looking at a team in the shape of Ondupraka Football Club. Let me begin from here, because after here, I'll be talking about a team in the names of Navy Football Club. Then after Navy, I'll be finalizing the day with a team in the names of the Black Angels in that regard. Of course, these are some of the biggest things that are making headlines in here. Of course, let's talk about Ndupra Football Club. Their quest in the Big League promotion back to the Southern Ghana Premier League seems to be lively, and I can tell you, it's a new era for Ndupra Football Club. That's the fact, and it's one of the beautiful things for the team. As such, of course, have been a new actual board of governors for 5 years. You remember Benza was the chairman of the club. He said he has done his part. The team was officially handed to a new body of governance. That's one fact. And then the team also appointed a new coach in the name of Wakswipe Sabasaba. New era for him. He'll be working alongside one of the most actually established, talented, who has been a familiar face in Western. I'm talking about John Uganda. They'll be working closely. They have got a new actual goalkeeping coach in the name of Tony will also be there. Then you have got Onama Bot, who is the fitness coach of the Football. This is generally a new era, new CEO, new actual marketing officer. Things at the Football Club are all new. I can confirm to you. And when you look at the signings of the Football Club, they are all new faces. And on the Football Club didn't actually let go a number of their first team players or the senior players. 90% of the players did actually go away from the Caterpillars. Of course, they were looking for greener pastures. They were looking for actually others were looking for more export. Of course, they played their best for this team, and this team has been so redundant in what's called Uganda football when it comes to playing in what we call the big league level. Of course, this is now going to be the third season the Football Club will be playing in the big league. One of the historical moments for them. Of course, this team in their maiden season in the big league, they actually attained promotion so fast from the first division up to where the team went up to back to the Southern Ghana Premier League. This was where Ndupra Football Club never repeated out of itself in any level. And I can confirm to you, it has not come to our attention that this team will not be playing in what we call the big league level for the third time, or for the third consecutive season, which is something which is very, 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 very actually bad for a team in the names of Ndupra Football. Of course, the team is still under transition. That's the fact. Of course, being under transition, things will never be moving as you expect. Of course, I expect the Football Club to have one of the actually key players at their disposal. We could talk about players like Beta Ezras of this world, the Kini Rashidis of this world, the Kumorotas of this world, players like Andama Juniors of this world. I expect the Football Club to keep some of these players put, such that that balance will always be there. Of course, going for players from the regional league, players from the 4th division league. You see, these players lack what to call that actual big league experience. Of course, at big league level, you need to have that actual high class, if not that high class, but that same class. You need to have it at your disposal. So that is something that can propel the football to some extent. But signing some of these players is kind of so touching to me. Of course, a player in the name of a player in the shape of Rwanga, who has been playing for Green Forest in the 4th Division League. Matches he has got the potential, matches he has got the talent. I don't think that he will be having that immediate performance from the football, always to elevate the football club to some level, always take the team to, back to Southern Ghana. All these players are kind of experienced. Matches they have got that the talent. Matches they have got that actual pedigree of playing in the regional league. Of course, big league is another level of its own, and it will really be so touching to see on the football club dragging backwards. Of course, we thought with the level of organization, always with the new board that is on board, or with the new governance on board, I expect the football club to be active in the transfer market. When you look at their signings, Manchester signing one of the biggest signings of from Ghana. It doesn't make any sense. I can take that one openly. It doesn't make any sense. And when you look at the crop of players that one has signed in, most of them are being awarded 2 years contract with the football club. Something which is good for the club as well, and something which I think will not be much more of an immediate impact for the team. Of course, like I said earlier on, this team is still under transition, and in the transition, we all know on the football club has got challenges in its financial setups. Of course, there's been the biggest problem has been financing. Of course, the club always complains that there's no money for this, there's no money to pay players, and this club has been allocated back to the fans. Oh no, the Ndubaka fans are much more aggressive when it comes to results. If results are not coming, they they're not even going to watch the games at Greenland Stadium. Of course, few will go, but the majority will not be turning for these games at Greenland Stadium. And I was looking at a point of saying that when you're not going for this actually lower, or this actually inexperienced players. I call them inexperienced players because this is another challenge for them. Big league is a taste of each one for them. Of course, I expect them to really have what we call a balanced team. Matches you can send players from the regional league or from other levels, but you need to have experience balanced actually at all. Of course, experience when added with the young talent, definitely things will move on our way. We are seeing Liverpool making headlines in the Premier League. We are seeing PSG. We are seeing Barcelona Football Club. We are seeing Real Madrid of this world making those actually immediate impact just because of the balance is there. But that balancing is lacking for Ndubaka Football Club. I can tell this season the team will struggle in the big league season. And for the third time, Ndubaka will definitely be struggling in the big league. That's according to me, and it's my actually vibrant opinion I can give you about Ndubaka Football Club. I expect Ndubaka Football Club still to struggle in the big league. Don't quote me wrong. Of course, these are my actual inspections. These are my expectations. Of course, I know Ndubaka Football Club have got the majority of the fan base here in Arua or in the city or even in West Nile. Of course, they have got the majority of the fans. Of course, fans, it has been actually it has been relieved back to the fans. So if the fans are not really going to be so much supportive to the club, because it has been reported that this club totally belongs now to the fans, and the fans are the ones running the affairs of the club. So if the fans are not coming for these games, or if the fans are not coming to support the team, how will the team actually survive? Of course, we did see last season the team barely was about to miss some of the games in what we call the big league last season. So this should not be a lesson for them to see that most of the games they really needed to turn up for them. Of course, these players are capable of playing for the team, but the experience bit of it lacked for them. Of course, we didn't see this team playing against the vSnr Select. They played the 2-2 draw. They played against the Arua Super 8 Select team. They played up to a 1-1 draw. That clearly tells you that this team still lacks quality somewhere. Of course, defensively, they keep leaking goals. In the midfield looks a little bit porous. Matches after they're trying to fire. They're trying to form that actual chemistry of finding the back of the net. But I can confirm to you, big league is another test. Of course, these players who can be at their best at Western, at Western level. But when it comes to playing other big teams that have kind of reinforced, teams like Blast Power, they have reinforced. Teams like the Bracket, they have reinforced. Teams like including other teams, I can tell you, on the Football Club will definitely, in my own view, struggle a little bit in the big league this season. And I don't expect them to have that immediate actual promotion back to the Southern Ghana Premier League. That's according to me. The team is still under transition, and the players they have signed in, these are still low learners. In my own view, of course, they are still at the bottom of their game. They are not at the same level, but they are just there in the middle. That's on Football Club for you in there. And it remains to be seen how they will be making headlines. They can easily prove me wrong, but I can confirm to you with the evidence that I'm carrying on, with my analysis that I'm building on, I'm looking at the Football Club being a struggling side in the big league come 2025-2026 season. Let's talk about Nebisani Football Club. Of course, they have got a new coach. It is in the names of Freda Kenya. Of course, he has been not new in Western or in Northern Uganda. He has been at the helm of Aduman Town Council. He has been at the helm of Kalba Football Club, and he has been with the Blast Power. He has been with the Atodi Province team. Of course, he has got the brain of football. He has got the experience of big league football, and he has been one of the coaches talked about in the big league. You see, he was the reason as to why a team in the step of Kalba Football Club actually were able to attain promotion back to the Southern Ghana Premier League. Something which is more appreciative to Akena. Of course, a team in the step of Nebisani Football Club, a community-based club at the heart of Nebi Town, the only team that will be playing the big league in Nebi, actually in the entire Nebi district is something which is very, very, very positive for them. Of course, the fan base at lower ground for this team of Nebi Football Club is always very massive, and I can tell the people of Nebi are always very, very supportive. But the talent has been their aggressiveness. Of course, they are always people who want things to be done on their way. They don't need things to go astray. Of course, Nebi is a place which has got that actual kind of fortress in itself. I'm talking about dual grounds, and adding an experienced coach in the step of Frederick Kenya, who has masterminded the art of big league football. I think he will be a coach who will be making headlines with a team in the name of Nebi Football Club immediately. I can tell you, Nebi Football Club will be having that better football than on the football. Trust me. That's because this team has been quiet in the transfer market, and they have got a coach who understands big league football more. Of course, he has got that experience already, and with the crop of players that Team Nebi Football Club is having right now, this is a team that I think in what we call the big league football come to 2025-2026 season. Of course, being the maiden season, I know there is panic for them to perform. There is panic for them to survive. There is panic for them to attend promotion to the stadium. I'm going to bring in there. You see, that is not going to be one of the biggest things for this team of Nebi Football Club. But the reality is they are going to be a team to actually talk about in the big league football. I'm quite sure they will be giving teams hard challenges. Of course, at lower grounds, we all know Nebi Football Club. The crowd is always very much. I can tell you the preparation is happening at dual grounds. I can tell you dual grounds. I'm gonna be following closely, and probably I'll be there to see that I watch this game live in there. Of course, play the Black Angels, Nebi Football Club as well will be giving us that vibe. But I'm looking at the Black Football Club, and even including the team in the step of Nebi Football Club. I don't expect them to attain promotion back to the Southern Ghana Premier League in there. Of course, let's talk about the team in the step of this team, the number of a few named big players is still very, very organized, very, very rejuvenated, very, very motivated, and the fans are always very massive at Borokoro Stadium. And I can really tell you that this team was one of the teams to talk about last season in the big league. They nearly attained the promotion only that the team was actually beaten by Calvary on the last day. Of course, when the team was to beat Calvary Football Club in their last game of probably could be seen the team in the step of by the Black Angels probably making headlines in the big league football. Of course, it remains to be seen how they will be acclimatizing. Of course, team by the Black Angels are a team that I think are here to give us that energy. They are here to give us that vibe of football at big league level, and I'm sure they are going to make us very proud as Western. Of course, we need to have a team to take us back to the same. It remains to be seen whether these teams will be better. A team in the step of maybe by the Black Angels, I'm quite sure they will be giving us that motivation of football in Western, and I'm quite sure they will be making us very proud in the big league setup. And it remains to be seen whether on the Black Football Club can be able to adapt. But the good thing is the new format of Ugandan football has not been amended at big league level. Big league level will still be copying is actually last season's actual format, and sometimes Ghana Premier League has got a new format, but the big league is going to be a tricky one. And I can confirm to you the number of teams that are here. Now, if you ask me about the teams that I think can attain promotion back to the Southern Ghana Premier League, it has been reported that 4 teams to be promoted to the Southern Ghana Premier League, and only 2 will be relegated from the Southern Ghana Premier League. That's something which is very, very good. If the Black Football is supposed to be serious, they can easily make amends. But I expected a team in the name of Blast Power to go through back to the Southern Ghana Premier League. I expected a team in the step of the Black Angels to go back to the Southern Ghana Premier League. Then I expected a team in the name of Wakto Giants to go back to the Southern Ghana Premier League. Either Wakto Giants or Sotilo Bright Stars, all these teams will go back. A team in the step of the Football Club. But I think they will still be a team still to play in the big league. Of course, they are still under transition. I don't put much money on the football club on the fact that they are still a team which is struggling financially. They are a team which is still under transition, and the players that they are signing in, they are of a low actual standard. So the players have to come in and adapt and learn how things are done at the big league level. I'm quite sure on the football club will not be able to attend that actual promotion. Let's talk about the Southern Ghana Premier League a little bit. Of a number of games up. The text actually did confirm that the kickoff time of night matches has been changed. Of course, when you look at the match that in Uganda, in the Southern Ghana Premier League that has been broadcast last in the evening. Normally, we are broadcast these games at 7 p.m., but it has been shifted from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. On the fact that they need to have that actual consistency when it comes to television audience. Of course, they want to ensure that the number of viewers are always there massive, to see that some of these games are kind of watched by actual fans. To see that fans are kind of given the vibe of Ugandan football. Of course, this is where FIFA thought it very wise that being a new format, being a format that actually engages sponsors to come in, fans have to have what we call that actually watch in there. Of course, it now gives attention back, to the fans to see that they kind of adapt this format of watching games at 8 p.m. Of course, they are kind of used to watching games at 7 p.m. in Uganda in here. But one of the biggest things to me is that actual timing of coming back home. Of course, when you're watching games at 8 p.m., this kind of match is likely to end up at around 10 p.m. And coming back home, in case the traffic is there, you could be easily coming back actually home at around 11 or 10 something, which is something I'm looking at being a tedious thing for the fans in there. And when you look at the safety contract itself, of course, sometimes you could be coming home late and you never know what will be happening to you or actually on the roadside, and fans have to adapt to some of these actual situations that are currently happening here in Uganda. Of course, the first game that will be televised live on the evening will be between a team in the names of Vipers up against Chitara. This game will be televised live on TV, and then not forgetting KCC up against Villa. These are the games that will be televised live, and these games will be played in a neutral ground, and it will be played at Mandela National Stadium, Nampole. These are some of the biggest games that we shall be actually watching on the screens. Let's talk about the games that are coming up on Friday in the Southern Ghana Premier League. Of course, we shall be seeing a Bull that will be playing against URA. This game will be at FIFA Technical Center in Geroh 4 p.m. And then we shall be seeing in Tebe Nazembe down at 4 p.m. as well. Let's talk about Police will be playing against Mbarachi. This game will be at Chira Road Police Arena. This game will be at 4 p.m. Then Express will be ending the day with a team. I'm talking about UPDF at Harms Stadium down in Nyachivuo. These are some of the biggest games that will be actually happening in the new format. Of course, my target is Calvo Football Club, but when you look at Calvo Football Club, they have got a number of games that they'll be playing in what we call away in the Southern Ghana Premier League. Of course, the new format always ensures that you can be in position to play 5 games away, then 5 games actually at home. Of course, it has been allocated for Calvary Football Club in their first 5 fixtures. Calvary has got 4 games away, and they only have got Vipers to play at Medical Primary School playgrounds. Their first game is against Lugazi that I said it will be on Friday. They will be playing away. Then after that, they will be traveling away again on the coming Friday. They will be playing against a team in the name of Buhimba United. After Buhimba United, Calvary will welcome a team in the shape of Vipers here at West Nile down in Yumbe, particularly in Midigo. Then after that, they will be traveling away to Maroons. Then after playing Maroons, then they will be playing KCC at Lugogo. These are some of the games that are coming up for Calvary Football Club. So much touching. Of course, the new format has got its actual importance. It has got its challenges. It has got its benefit to players. It has got its actual challenge to players. It has got benefit to fans. And again, it is kind of balanced in every aspect. This is something that I think clubs have to come and adapt to it, get used to it, probably make amends into it, and see that you have got that actual experience of playing in that regard. Let's talk about. I don't want to talk about the next game. Of course, the game is coming up very soon, and I've talked much about Ugandan football, but I prepared something about the next football. But we shall be looking at that in Tunisia Green over the weekend. Of course, next will be playing against Nairobi Stars in that regard. Then when we talk about teams that will be playing up in the Southern Uganda Premier League, and I can tell you, Southern Uganda Premier League is going to be an interesting thing to watch. Of course, some of these things I'll be breaking down them on Friday, as we shall be doing the show in there. Of course, I've got enough of the time. Of course, some of these stories are always there. When you prepare them, they can never get exhausted. They can never get actually given out by someone. No, these are stories that are always there when you bring them to see that you are kind of catered for with everything. That's the reason as to why we always give you the best when it comes to some of these actual updates. Let's talk about Liverpool. I remember yesterday Liverpool were in action in a game against Southampton in the EFL Cup. Of course, you can call it the Carabao Cup. Of course, before I talk about that game, let's give the results of the game that were played yesterday in the Carabao Cup. Yesterday, of course, Barnsley were beaten 6-0 by Brighton. Then we have got Cardiff City beating Burnley by 2-1. Fulham did actually beat a team in the names of Cambridge by 1-0. Lincoln City were beaten 2-1 by Chelsea Football Club. Then Wigan were beaten 2-0 by Wycombe Wanderers. Then Everton were beaten 2-0 by Wolverhampton Wanderers. Then Zaham were beaten, did beat Reading by 2-0. Then Liverpool managed to beat a team in the name of Southampton by 2-1. These are some of the games played yesterday. But let's talk about this game of Liverpool, whereby we did see their star man. I'm talking about the Hugo Ekitike, who was a new signing for them. Ended from down in Germany. He has been given his first red card in Liverpool start. Of course, at first he was given a yellow card after getting frustrated. Then he didn't throw away the ball. That was when he first got his first yellow card for Liverpool Football Club. Then after scoring, he forgot that he was on first yellow card. He had to remove his shirt. Then he went on a wild celebration, and eventually the referee had to give him that immediate send off. Of course, that was a genuine one. Of course, when you're not supposed to remove your shirt actually on the field. That is one of the rules of football, and he has been given that as a red card in that regard. In there is one of the beautiful things that has happened for a player in the name of Alexander Isak. Not Isak, but who something which is really very, very bad for him. Of course, we expected him to be a player of a great impact for Liverpool. Matches he has been a consistent startup for Liverpool Club in there, and in that game he came as a substitute after Liverpool gave the maiden season for the player I'm talking about, Alexander Isak, to actually start his game for Liverpool Club. And in that game, he scored fast for Liverpool. He opened the score for Liverpool. And then after that, he was substituted in the first half. And then Liverpool brought in a player in the names of Hugo Ekitike, and apparently he was sent off actually with that stupid red card in there. Of course, Anslot, Liverpool actually head coach, did say that this is one of the worst that he has seen from this guy in the step of Hugo Ekitike. He not expect him to behave in that way. He will be missing the Liverpool clash against Crystal Palace, who are still unbeaten in a number of games since they did beat Liverpool in that actual opening. In that actual FA Cup final. Crystal Palace has never lost a game in the Premier League. This season they are still unbeaten. That's a team in the shape of Crystal Palace for you, and Liverpool will be playing this team of Crystal Palace, and it's going to be so hard for Hugo Ekitike to be missing this game because of the red card that he got from the League Cup in there. Then what does this one mean for a player in the shape of Hugo Ekitike? It means that the trust that he was being given by Anslot will not be given to another striker. Of course, that actually competitive that level of competitiveness has been there between him and a player in the shape of Isak, and definitely Isak will be having that nod over Hugo Ekitike, and I'm quite sure Isaac will be starting that game against Crystal Palace over the weekend, and this is going to be a huge blow for this player. I'm talking about Hugo Ekitike in that regard. Of course, a number of these games are coming up today. Of course, today we shall be seeing some of the games coming up in the EFL Cup. Of course, Manchester City is playing today, Arsenal is playing today. When you look at the games that are coming up today in the EFL Cup, of course, Huddersfield Town will be playing against Manchester City. This game will be at 9:45 p.m. Then after that, we shall be seeing Newcastle welcoming Brentford City at 9:45. Then Tottenham Hotspur will be welcoming Doncaster Rovers. This game will be at 9:45. Then Port Vale will be playing against Arsenal. This game will be at 10 p.m. East African time. Before I call it a day, let's look at a few of the transfers that are making headlines. Of course, the biggest one is Manchester United. Ruben Amorim saying that he wants to reinforce his team to see that the team looks to be a little bit balanced. And they talked about Federico Di Marco, that Inter Milan defender who is capable of playing on the left-hand side of the pitch. He can as well play on the on the right-hand side of the pitch. Of course, Manchester United has been lacking players of his caliber. Of course, when you look at Paul Kidoku, when you look at Luke Shaw, when you look at the play in the step of Diego Dallo, these players have been inconsistent for Manchester United when it's coming to giving that actual fast delivery. In that regard, Manchester United has been lacking a player of such qualities. Of course, Di Marco offers that one perfectly. Of course, he's a player who loves overlapping so much. He's a player who is very creative, and he's a player who loves assisting, and he's as well a player who loves also scoring goals in that regard. Of course, playing a back three, you need a wing back of his caliber. Of course, we didn't see him under Diego Simeone at Inter Milan. They were thriving so actually well in that regard. Of course, he still has got a contract running with that team of Inter Milan until 2028, but we are yet going to see whether Manchester United can be important to lure him. Of course, he is already at 28 years old. Of course, Manchester United needs that kind of experience to see that when you're transforming or when you're building a team, you need to have that experience in your team to see that you have that balance, total balance in that regard. Of course, Di Marco, he's a player who I think can adapt very fast in England. Of course, he has got physicality to his name, and he's a player who uses a lot of the body. His game reading is perfect, and his positioning is always very perfect, and his ball distribution as well is perfect. And I think he could be a very good addition for Manchester United if at all Ruben Amorim can be in position to strike this deal. And I think he can be a player of a great importance for Manchester United. And see, Manchester United lacking what we call European football, he could be one of the greatest players for Manchester United if at all they signed him. Of course, they have also talked about a goalkeeper of Mark of Eastman. I would say he needs to have experience, and he's not looking at players who are kind of experienced. When you look at Baindiri, he is not, and they have got a player in the step of Lysen, who is still new to the recruit at Old Trafford. Of course, that actually kind of experience is kind of lacking for them. Of course, they have never been having big nights in the football, and having a player in the names in the step of Mignan can be of a great importance for Manchester. Of course, he is a player of who can balance. The post very well. He can distribute the ball very well. He is confident on the ball. He could be as well a great player to Manchester United in that regard. Let's talk about Liverpool. They are saying that they wanted to offer a new contract for a player in the names of Ryan Gravenberch. Of course, Ryan Gravenberch was a surprise actually player for Liverpool Football Club last season in the 20th championship. Of course, they have won the Premier League for the 20th time. Of course, they are the record champ. They are the best club right now in England, and it has been reported that they are saying that they wanted to tie this guy for a longer contract. In there, of course, when you look at the Gravenberch, when you look at his actual performance for Liverpool Club, there's no doubt that Liverpool cannot give him a long-term contract. Of course, he is still very young, 23 years old. He can offer something very big for Liverpool, and I'm quite sure he will be a player of a great importance for Liverpool in the near future. And he has been the reason as to why Liverpool has been winning the games. Whenever he's there on the pitch, Liverpool always picks maximum points, always a draw. But when he's not there, that's when Liverpool struggles. And we have seen his impact for Liverpool in the Merseyside derby against Everton. He scored that actually lovely goal against Everton last weekend, and I'm quite sure that is the reason as to why Liverpool say that his performance for the team is quite actually immense, and he's making fans love him. The management is loving him. He's a player who's kind of loyal He arrives at training in time. Everything that he does is always appreciated by the fans, and he has been winning Man of the Match awards at Liverpool for a couple of times. He has been winning a Player of the Month awards at Liverpool for a number of times. So probably these are some of the reasons why Liverpool said they need to tie him to a longer contract. Probably we could be seeing this guy living at Liverpool for a longer period of time. Of course, Mo Salah has been given that sort of big response to see that he also stays put at Liverpool. Then Van Dijk also renewed his contract. They have talked about Ibrahim Konate also in talks with Liverpool to sign another new contract. So these are some of the biggest things that Ancelotti is trying to do. Having keeping hold of your biggest players, motivating them actually at the right time will definitely be adding some spice into your team to motivate them, to work them to work hard, and then definitely you could be seeing Liverpool kind of get a little bit more energized or more motivated to see that they have got that the big performances, that excellent performance against teams in that regard. Then Arsenal are interested in signing 24-year-old at Japan wing. I'm talking about the place that say that they're not going to be out from Crystal Palace. Of course, Manchester has been talking about him, and it has been reported that he is not going to be a player at Liverpool. The transfer market in that regard, of course. At the Barcelona Football Club, a player in the names of Frank de Jong has actually agreed already to extend his stay with the Barcelona until 2029 at reduced wage. Of course, he's going to reduce his salary. His salary with the Barcelona Football Club. We know Barcelona Football Club financially they are struggling and things are not actually taking so fast for them. And Barcelona is not trying to reduce the wages of some of these players. One of the players is Frank de Jong, and one of the loyal players, by the way, he has kind of agreed to reduce his actual salary with the team of Liverpool. Let's talk about both Arsenal and Liverpool have been informed that 25-year-old midfielder is at Real Madrid, that they can easily lure him and that they can sign him. This has what actually I have prepared for you for today. I'm out of here. Catch me again tomorrow. Say I am so. To be senior the host of the show. I'm out of here. Bye bye. It's